So last week, you guys saw me do all kinds of cool things to the eRide Pro SS 3.0. For instance, I added some handguards, put some flat out in my tires, and I also got rid of those pesky brake sensors. Then shortly after that, I went out for my second official trail ride, solo this time. And let me tell you, the conditions weren't quite what I expected. The first thing I want to address is the flat out that I put in these tires. The back tire is holding perfectly, but I didn't have any issues with that before putting it in flat out. The front tire, however, if you remember, I did have issues. I had a slow leak. That wasn't that big of a deal. I could still ride. I would just have to air it up before every single ride. I was hoping that this flat out would fix that, but it turns out it's still got a slow leak. So I've got two options. Option one is to change out the tube. I don't want to do that. Option two is to just add more flat out. That's what I'm going to try. And if this doesn't work, well, then we'll go back to option one. Double the sealant, maybe twice the protection. Guys, turns out that there's got to be a tear right where the valve is. I just added the sealant and I added air and it's just leaking out like crazy. Looks like I'm going to be changing a tube. I'll spare you guys that since I did that a few episodes ago, and I'll do that off camera. Let's move on to the next thing. Hopefully it'll get a little bit more exciting than adding sealant to a tire. And while we're down here, I wanted to show you guys this because last week when I was editing the video, I noticed that my chain was a little bit loose. What do you think? That seems way under tension. I want to go over how to tension the chain, and if I do anything wrong, definitely call me out in the comments. I want to make sure that I do this right and make sure that if anybody is watching this, that they learn how to do it properly. I think I have a good idea. I've watched a few videos and it seems like a pretty simple task, but we'll get to that later. And real quick, I want to give a huge thanks to all of you guys that have subscribed to the channel. We are super close to getting 1,000 subscribers. And I've actually made a post on the channel with an Ask Me Anything. So if you guys have any questions, go to that post on my community tab and just put your question in there or email me at askemotomike@gmail.com. And I will answer those questions on a 1,000 subscriber celebration video. And don't forget, if you want to help out this channel and you're planning on buying an eRide Pro or any other type of eMoto from RevRides, use my link down below and also use my coupon code if you're getting a 3.0 because you can get Warp 9 pegs for absolutely free with your purchase of the 3.0. All right, guys, back to the video. So last week I showed you guys my bike computer. This is the IGP Sport IGS 800, and it's one of the larger bike computer screens, and it works perfect for an eMoto. And the reason why I'm using this is because it's super easy to load routes into it and get precise directions whenever you're out on the trail. I use this all the time for mountain biking, and it helps me go out on trails that I'm not familiar with, but I get the routes from online and easily load them in this computer. So there's an app called OnX Off-Road, and that's what I'm using. And I actually specifically use it on my computer as opposed to the app. Seems like the computer has a little bit more granularity and I'm able to create routes really easily. I figure out what trails I want to ride and then I can easily map my way around that particular trail system. After I've got the entire thing made, like this one right here, this is the one I used out at Chadwick on my ride a few weeks ago. I just basically export it and then I send that file over to my iPhone. And then with the IGP Sport app, all I have to do is go to that file, click the share sheet button, and then I can actually select IGP Sport and it'll load that route directly into their app. Once that route's loaded, I can send it right to the GPS. Now, whenever it's on the GPS, when I'm at my destination, I can just choose navigate and select that route. The nice thing about using one of these bike computers and using the OnX Off-Road is the process is super simple to build my route, and it was also really easy to use during the ride. So having that on that bike computer, I'm not getting a lot of clutter or anything like that. It's a nice, compact, but big enough display that I can still see the trail system and I know exactly which direction I'm going. And let me tell you, being on a trail system out in the middle of the woods by yourself for the very first time It can be unnerving, but having a good GPS setup where you can actually have a route, knowing how to get back to where you parked, can be super comforting in the long run. So now you guys know that I didn't get lost in the woods whenever I went out to Chadwick. And let me tell you, Chadwick trail system is pretty massive. It's been around for a very long time. And luckily, I was able to get into a group over on Facebook that was basically a whole bunch of experienced Chadwick riders. I gathered up a ton of information from them, getting a whole bunch of details on what trails I should ride and what trails I shouldn't ride for my very first experience. So little did I know whenever I was gonna go out to Chadwick that it was going to be in not the best conditions overall. I had my heart set on going on a specific date because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to make it for the next couple of weekends. And whenever that date came around, it turned out that we had snowy and icy conditions, and I almost called it off that morning. However, I was just determined that I was gonna go, nothing was gonna stop me. And let me tell you, I am so glad that I went, because if you've ever been on a ride out on a trail system with snow, it is almost unforgettable. This is what it looks like, not in the snow. It's gonna be scary. First time I ride this not in the snow. So while I was out here, I ran into icy conditions, had a flat tire, needed to change out my lenses, and ran across some really sketchy stuff. Hard. Oh, there it goes. I may have to put a new tube in this. I'm gonna change out to my clear goggles. Havoc lenses are nice. Ooh, it's nice out. Should be interesting, to say the least. Does look a little bit better that way for right now. I definitely would like to ride that. Come back and do it. Live to fight another day, boys. This is beautiful out here. Super beautiful. What a wild trail. Wow. I can already tell you, 'cause I know exactly where I'm at. Oh my God, I made it. Holy cow, that was so terrifying. Maybe if I can get momentum. Oh yeah, that's not bad. Oh, guys, that was absolutely wild. What did you think of that footage? Have you ever done a snow trail ride like that before? I was super nervous, super cautious, but I got more comfortable as I kept riding. And let me tell you, at the very beginning, that was pretty steep, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to make it back up it. But after being out there for a couple hours riding around, I got super comfortable and more confident on the bike. But let me tell you, one thing that helped me drastically was removing those brake sensors from this bike. It made the bike so much more capable on tricky stuff. And man, I'm glad I did that. So if you're hesitating to remove these brake sensors and you've been riding for a little while, don't be. It's a huge benefit to take those things off after you've learned how to control the throttle on this bike. But guys, I'm super curious. Would you like to see more POV footage of that particular ride? Would you like a long format version of that ride? I'm thinking about posting a longer, less cut version over on my Patreon. So recently I opened up a Patreon page called Mike's Unlocked Garage. And on that Patreon page, you not only get early access and exclusive access and direct communication with me on eMoto Mike stuff, you also get it on all my other channels, Run Bike Mike, Ride Electric Reviews, and All Tool Reviews. So if you want exclusive access, early access to all of my channels, definitely go over and check out that Patreon page. I'll put a link down below. And also, it does help out this channel, and I'm really trying to make this channel grow and make it profitable so I can continue making this awesome content. So there's one last thing that we need to do in this video, and that's to fix this floppy chain. There's no way this can be good for your eMoto. From everything that I've read, this is a super simple process that shouldn't take hardly any time at all. Let's go ahead and grab the tools. Oh, here they are. All you're gonna need is a 10mm wrench and a 17mm wrench. And then you're just gonna be turning a couple of bolts and this should tension the chain. So the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is loosen up this back wheel. Okay, once you've got that loose, just take your wheel and wiggle it. Make sure that it's actually loose because you want this to be able to slide back to increase tension. Then we can take our 10mm wrench and you're gonna wanna unthread this bolt right here that's closest to your frame. And then just pull this back just a little bit. And then we're gonna do the same thing to the other side. So in order to add tension to this, we're gonna unthread this bolt and push it back this direction. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do 2 turns, basically putting my wrench all the way at the bottom, twisting it all the way up. I'm gonna repeat that over on the other side. We're gonna do that a couple of times, try to get this tension, and then we're gonna tighten this bolt back to see if it actually does a full tension on it. Because when you tighten this bolt, it should add additional tension. And whenever you're on the other side, instead of pulling up with your wrench, you're gonna pull down with your wrench. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this up just to see how much tension actually goes back into the wheel. And you also might need a 6mm Allen key to hold the axle in place while you tighten it down with the wrench. That's looking quite a bit better, but I still think it's just slightly loose. I'm gonna give it a couple more turns. 1, 2, and good. Okay, that should be good. Let's give it a full tighten. Make sure my wheel is set in here properly, pushed all the way up against those stops. Then the last thing you want to do is tighten up this bolt right here, just a little bit, thread it on there, and then give it a couple of turns just to kind of get it tight. You may want to use 2 10mm wrenches so you can make sure that this one doesn't actually turn. Okay guys, let me know what you think. Do you think that this is the proper tension? It definitely feels like there's more tension and has probably about 10mm of play in it. I feel like this is gonna be pretty good. Let me know in the comments below if I did that right. So tensioning your chain is super easy. I think I did it right, and if I didn't, it's super easy to correct. But you guys can let me know if I did that correctly down in the comments below. But you guys are gonna wanna stick around and subscribe to the channel because you're not gonna wanna miss what's in this heavy box. It's a cool way to transport your eMoto without having to lift it up in your truck. And it's in this tiny little box. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, leave me a comment, and also hit that like button. It really helps my channel grow. And don't forget to go to Rev Rides to pick up your eRide Pro. But as always, get out there and ride your eMoto.